Hey there! Ready for a deep dive into something seriously relevant today? We're talking Agile and Scrum. You've probably heard the buzz, faster work, happier teams, but we're here to uncover the how and why behind it all, especially since you're considering a career shift.
It's definitely more than just hype. Agile and Scrum have taken root in so many industries because they offer a framework for actually achieving those results.
Exactly. And to guide our deep dive today, we've got a course outline called Agile Project Management and Scrum Blueprint, along with some tutorials from Atlassian and the folks behind Jira. So not just theory, but practical tools too. Now, one thing that really caught my eye in this blueprint was the claim that their students boost productivity by 30 to 50%. Imagine getting that much more done.
It's a bold claim, but it highlights a crucial point. This blueprint emphasizes that Agile isn't about pushing people to work harder, it's about helping them work smarter. This productivity boost comes from breaking down work into manageable chunks called sprints, usually 2 weeks long, and constantly reprioritizing tasks to focus on what delivers the most value.
So instead of one massive project deadline looming over, you have these 2-week sprints, each with a clear focus. I could see how that shift in pace could really impact both productivity and stress levels.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another key concept highlighted in both our sources, the idea of a backlog. Think of it as your team's to-do list, but prioritize collaboratively. So you're always tackling the most important items first.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually decide what goes into each sprint and what stays in the backlog?
That's where those prioritization skills come. In this tutorial we have from Atlassian, it goes into detail about how Scrum teams use a prioritized backlog. The most critical items are always at the top, ready for the next sprint. What's fascinating is how this structured approach actually helps reduce stress, not add to it, because you're constantly checking in, adapting, and not getting bogged down by huge inflexible plans.
It's like that constant feedback loop we were talking about. You're always tweaking and refining your process based on what's working and what's not.
Exactly. In this blueprint course we have, it really digs into that idea of continuous improvement as a core principle of Agile. It's iterative, meaning you're constantly learning and adapting.
This reminds me of something else mentioned in the blueprint. These different roles within Agile teams like Scrum Master and Product Owner now, are those actual job titles or just hats people wear within a team?
That's a great question, and the answer is both. Many companies have dedicated Scrum Masters and Product Owners, while smaller teams might have existing members take on those responsibilities.
So it sounds like there's some flexibility there, which is interesting, but let's break down these roles a bit further. What does a Scrum Master actually do? The name makes it sound kind of mystical. Do they wear robes and carry a staff?
Though they do play a crucial role in guiding the team through the Scrum process. Think of them as facilitators, helping everyone stay on track and follow the Scrum framework, but not in a controlling way. It's more about guidance and support.
Like a coach, but for sprints instead of sports. That actually makes a lot of sense, and it makes me think about something this blueprint mentioned about Scrum Masters needing strong communication and problem-solving skills.
Absolutely. Those are essential. The tutorial we have here from Atlassian really emphasizes that a Scrum Master isn't a manager. They don't tell people what to do. Their role is to help the team communicate, effectively resolve any conflicts that arise, and clear any roadblocks hindering their progress.
So they're like the glue that holds the team together, making sure everyone's on the same page and working towards the same goal.
Exactly. And speaking of keeping things on track, let's move on to the product owner.
Yes. The product owner, that sounds like someone who well owns a product, right?
In a sense, yes. The product owner is the voice of the customer. They're responsible for defining what the product should do, prioritizing features, and ultimately ensuring it delivers value to the users.
So they need to have a deep understanding of what the customer wants and needs.
Absolutely. And not just that, this blueprint highlights how crucial it is for product owners to also understand the technical side of things, the feasibility of actually building what the customer wants. They act as a bridge between the customer and the development team.
So they need to be able to speak both tech and customer. That's a valuable skill set right there. It's like being bilingual, but in the language of business and technology.
A very apt comparison.
Now, of course, we can't forget about the actual development team. That one's a bit more self-explanatory.
Yeah. These are the developers, designers, testers, everyone who's actually building the product.
So no silos here. Everyone's pitching in to get the job done.
Exactly. And what's interesting is how this Atlassian tutorial highlights the importance of cross-functionality within these teams. Ideally, you want people with diverse skill sets who can collaborate effectively. This allows teams to be more adaptable and responsive to change, which, as we know, is a core principle of Agile.
Makes sense. You need different perspectives to solve problems creatively. But let's bring this back to you, our listener. You're thinking about a career shift, and based on what we've discussed so far, Agile sounds pretty appealing. So let's say you wanted to land one of these roles. What are your next steps?
Well, this blueprint we have, it really emphasizes the value of certifications. They claim a 95% pass rate on the Scrum certification exam for those who complete their program.
95%. That's impressive. So it's not just about learning the material, it's about knowing how to apply it in a way that meets industry standards.
Exactly. And having that certification can be a major advantage in the job market. In fact, the tutorial mentions that many employers specifically look for candidates with Scrum certifications. It's becoming an industry standard.
So it's like having a stamp of approval on your resume. It shows potential employers that you're serious about Agile and Scrum.
It's not just about checking boxes, though. This blueprint, they stress that they don't just teach you what to do, they teach you why it works.
Which is so important because anyone can memorize a bunch of terms and processes, but truly understanding the underlying principles of Agile and Scrum is what makes you a valuable asset to a team.
Precisely. You'll be a much more effective Scrum Master or product owner if you can articulate the why behind the processes and practices.
So you're not just learning a method, you're learning a mindset.
Exactly, and this blueprint emphasizes that this kind of thinking is what sets their graduates apart.
It's about becoming a problem solver, a change maker, someone who can lead teams through complex transitions now. That's a powerful skill set to have no matter what industry you're in. But let's say you're on board, you're ready to dive into this Agile world. What are your options? This blueprint we have, it offers a few different learning paths, right?
They do. They have a tiered system which provides a structured approach to learning.
Right. They have a starter kit, a meteor level, and a senior level, and they all build on each other.
Exactly.
So if you're just starting out, the starter kit might be a good place to dip your toes in the water, see if Agile is really for you.
Right. It's a low-risk way to get a feel for the fundamentals.
And then if you're ready to really commit, you can move on to the meteor and senior levels. What's the difference between those two?
That's a great question and a perfect segue into the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so we're back and ready to unpack these Agile career paths a bit further. We were just discussing the blueprint's course options. Meteor and senior, they sound pretty straightforward, but what are we really looking at here in terms of content and who they're designed for?
You've got to think of them as levels, not just courses.
Huh.
The meteor level is all about establishing a solid foundation in Agile. It's where you really master the practical aspects of Scrum, like running sprints, effectively managing those all-important backlogs and facilitating those key Scrum ceremonies we touched on earlier.
Got it. The essential toolkit for anyone looking to work in an Agile environment, no matter their specific role. It sounds incredibly practical, which I imagine is super valuable for someone like our listener who's considering a career shift into this field.
It is, and what's really interesting is how this blueprint structures the meteor level. They don't just throw a bunch of theory at you. They provide templates, real-world case studies, and practical exercises that allow you to apply what you're learning immediately.
That's huge because reading about Scrum is one thing, actually doing it well, that's where the real learning happens.
I completely agree. Now, when it comes to the senior level, that's where you transition from practitioner to leader. You take that solid foundation you built at the meteor level and learn how to implement Agile at a much larger scale across teams and even across the entire organization.
Okay, so we're talking about leading real transformation within a company, not just working within an Agile framework, but making Agile work for everyone. That's a whole other level of expertise.
It is, and this blueprint, they've designed their senior course to equip you with those leadership skills. It covers advanced topics like Agile risk management, which is crucial when you're scaling these methodologies and strategies for transitioning from traditional project management frameworks to a more Agile approach.
That last part is so key because, let's be real, not every company is starting from scratch.
Yeah.
Many organizations are trying to figure out how to integrate Agile into their existing structures and processes, which I imagine can feel like fitting a square peg into a round hole sometimes.
It can be a challenge, but what I appreciate about this blueprint's approach is that they don't just give you a set of rigid steps to follow. They emphasize the why behind the strategies. They want you to understand the underlying principles of Agile so you can adapt and overcome challenges effectively.
So you're not just learning a method, you're developing an Agile mindset that allows you to lead change within any organization.
Exactly. And as we've discussed, that kind of adaptable problem-solving mindset is invaluable.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored what Agile and Scrum are all about, delved into the different roles within Agile teams, and even mapped out potential learning paths you could take to gain the skills needed for a successful career shift. But ultimately, it comes down to you, our listener, and what resonates most with you.
That's right. As you reflect on everything we've discussed today, ask yourself, what excites you about Agile? What aspects of this way of working really appeal to your strengths and interests?
And beyond that, think about what kind of learning environment suits you best. Are you someone who thrives in a structured setting with a clear curriculum like the one this blueprint offers? Or do you prefer a more hands-on approach, diving into tools like Jira and learning by doing?
Both approaches can lead to success. And the important thing is to choose the path that aligns with your individual learning style and career goals.
Exactly. And remember, this deep dive is just the beginning of your exploration. We've sparked your curiosity, introduced you to key concepts and potential pathways. Now it's up to you to decide how deep you want to go and which direction feels right for you.
And there are so many resources available to support you on your journey. Articles, videos, podcasts like ours, and of course more in-depth programs like those offered by the Blueprint we discussed today.
And hey, if you're ready to take that next step, it's worth noting that this blueprint offers a 30-day money-back guarantee on their courses, so you can explore the material, get a feel for their teaching style, and decide if it's the right fit for you, risk-free.
That's a great point. And as you continue your Agile journey, whether you're diving into a course, experimenting with a new project management tool, or simply bringing some of these principles into your current work, ask yourself this: where else can Agile principles create positive change? It's not just about your career. It's about approaching work and life with a more adaptable, iterative, and human-centered mindset.
That's such a powerful takeaway. And with that, we'll leave you to ponder those possibilities until next time. Happy diving.